Well, we've learned a lot in this lesson, and now we're actually finally up to our last question, which is a word problem. So we're going to have to draw this one out. And we are told that triangle LMN is congruent to triangle OPR. We're also given the measurements of angle L, which is in the first triangle, and angle P, which is in the second triangle, and angle N, which is in the first triangle, and then we're asked to find X in this value for angle N and find angle R. So this is a pretty involved word problem. Let's go ahead and draw it out. Triangle LMN, and I really don't know much about how they look. Okay, and when I draw it congruent to triangle OPR, I might as well draw OPR to look similar to LMN. No reason not to. I do know that O corresponds to L, that P corresponds to M, and that R corresponds to N. So I can label my triangle like this. The measure of angle L is equal to 29 degrees. Well, if these two triangles are congruent, then all the corresponding angles and sides are also congruent. So if you remember, angle L corresponds to angle O on the basis of this statement. So we can go to O and we can assume that O must also be 29 degrees. The measure of angle P is 66 degrees. Let's label that in here. P is 66 degrees. And P in the second triangle, which is the second letter in the triangle, corresponds to M in the first triangle. So that means that if P is 66 degrees, we also know the angle of M is 66 degrees as well. Well, before we even go any further, is that all we can tell from what we've been given so far? We've got two angles of each triangle. We can figure out angles N and R. How do we do that? Well, we know that the angles of a triangle sum to 180 degrees, the triangle sum theorem. So we know that 66 plus 29 plus, we'll call the measure of angle N, we don't know what that is exactly, but that all equals to 180 degrees. We can solve this equation. Let's go ahead and solve it for the measure of angle N. So 66 plus 29 is equal to 95, okay, plus measure of angle N equals 180. We can subtract 95 degrees from both sides. That gives us the measure of angle N is equal to, do it the old-fashioned way, equal to 85 degrees, okay, and that gives us the measure of angle N as well as the measure of angle 4. So we've got 85 degrees here and 85 degrees here. Now, looking at the picture, you might say to yourself, hey, this triangle isn't drawn right, okay? Angle N is 85 degrees. It's almost a right angle, and I've drawn it so it looks like a really small angle, okay? In fact, it looks like the smallest angle in the triangle when it's really the largest angle in the triangle. So you've got two choices at this point. You could redraw the triangle if you'd like to, or we could read on to see whether or not we need to draw the triangle out in a different way, okay? I mean, triangles, when we draw a sketch, do not have to be to scale. It's fine if you want to redraw them to scale, but let's see what we're being asked and whether or not it's really necessary. Well, we're being told that the measure of angle N equals 4x plus 53 degrees, and that we're to solve for x and find the measure of angle R. Well, we already found the measure of angle R, right? That's right over here. We already know the measure of angle R equals 85 degrees. So that part of it we've already solved. Okay, and the measure of angle N we know to be 85 degrees as well. So we could set 85 equal to 4x plus 53 and solve for x, and we're done. No reason to go redrawing the triangle. It doesn't really make much of a difference here. We're practically finished. So let's go ahead and solve for x. So 4x plus 53 is equal to 85. If we subtract 53 from both sides, that gives us 4x is equal to 32, or x is equal to 8. And we're done. The measure of angle R is equal to 85 degrees. I'll draw that out again to make it really clear in case the pen wasn't that clear. Measure of angle R is equal to 85 degrees, and x equals 8. So that solves this problem, and we're done.